All right, we're back live, everyone. Welcome to the stream. I'm just going to check that the setup's correct at the back here. Just give me 1 second. It's not going to be as long this session. Just want to make sure it's running. It is running. Oh, and it's public as well. Oh, well. I'll get the hang of the new channel soon. Let's see what's going on live now. Let's see what's going on live now. All right. All right, folks, welcome back to the stream. This is the second part of today's streaming. So this is a brand new channel, and we were hacked on the previous one. Lost 13,500 subscribers and 3.7 million views, as it turns out, and 2,000 videos, including some teaching and course videos, quite a lot. So anyway, this is the new channel now, and we're back, and we're doing some day trading just to supplement, mainly for the private group members. As I said, I would try and do at some stage, and now's as good a time as any now that we've got a new channel. And let's do some day trading. So we've got these 4 instruments here. We're in 2 of them at the moment. One's been stopped out. That was the natural gas short. We'll come back to that. We don't have any trades on the NASDAQ yet. That's this bottom left-hand corner chart. I'm waiting for the New York bell, Wall Street to ring. Before we get into that, you can see we're starting to whipsaw ahead of the market open now. Bit of a spike up, a waterfall down, a V-shaped recovery out of the waterfall, and coming back down again, all ahead of the market opening. Starting a little bit, a couple of hours ago, perhaps based on some news out of the Middle East. Anyway, welcome to everyone. It's good to see you again. As I said, this is not going to be as long as the previous session. Now, let me talk about these 2 trades. We got the long signal for Bitcoin. Based on what I explained in the earlier videos, you'll have to watch those to understand the system. But down here, when we've got the oversold RSI, and we got the reversal patterns, we talked about this in the previous session. We're now long on Bitcoin with $175 in profit. This is just one Bitcoin. It's only $70,000 in size, one Bitcoin, equivalent to the size of a standard contract on any Forex trade, $100,000, roughly equivalent, a little bit less, of course. So it's one standard contract really in trading Forex. I explained in the earlier session that when I started trading in the 90s, trading Forex, that was the minimum size you could trade, one standard contract of $100,000. So if you started off trading with a $5,000 account, you were allowed to have very large leverage, even back then. And probably even worse back then, actually, in terms of leverage allowed. But, flippancy with leverage, which we know got the world into a lot of trouble a couple of times in the years subsequent to that. And leverage has been cut back a little bit, I suppose. But, you'd have to be trading at 20-to-1 leverage just to start, just with one single contract on your, let's say, long Euro USD, one contract, $100,000 on your $5,000 account, leverage 20-to-1. And so 1 pip against you, it was a lot, 10 pips at 20-to-1 is equivalent to 200 pips, which is 2% of your account, 10 pips. That's hectic. And 10 pips can go just like that. So that's where we grew up trading, like I'm a child, a teenager, just grown into adulthood. My Twitter bio says post-grad in philosophy and mathematics, which is true, but pre-grad in life. So that's also true. In other words, still not graduated and still really don't know what the course agenda or course curriculum is, let alone graduated. Anyway, we've got $237 here on Bitcoin long, and my target is set higher. I went through this trade in the previous session, so I'm not going to go through the whole trade again now. And then we also got long on gold, I did, based on a similar sort of entry. And given that net Bitcoin and gold and the NASDAQ are all long for me today, based on the moving average system that I use. It's a very, very simple system. And when green is above red, we're long, and the line, not the price. The green line above the red line, we're long. When the green line's below the red line, we're short. And we'll be trading in those directions by and large, mainly, exclusively, in many cases. So there we go. Now, we didn't get long on the NASDAQ because I recall, because I prefer to wait for the first half an hour after the markets open, after the bell rings, and that is in 15, 17 minutes time, first half an hour until the top of that hour before I start looking for trades on the NASDAQ or the S&P or any other stock name for that matter. So that's where we are. I don't know how many people are in the chat, but welcome to all of you, whoever might be here. I think I forgot to tell my private group. All right. So that's where we are. So Bitcoin's moving up, and I'm just going to wait for the others to come in. No one's here right now for the rest of the private group to come in. But Bitcoin, everything's moving up quite nicely, and gold's moving up very, very nicely too. We've just got to see if we can get into a NASDAQ trade if we want to. And natural gas, I'm long on my swing trade, but I'm not really particularly keen on day trading natural gas, but I thought I'd have a look at it anyway, but we might just stick that one aside. Going back to the longer term charts, you can see Bitcoin dipped off over the weekend with everything dropped down with the news that there was no peace deal done. I expect that there was extreme pessimism and a little bit of optimism. The rebound from that extremity will creep in now, as there are other possibilities explored in this deal. And as things are looked at, and as more snippets of more positive parts of that conversation come out, in other words, leeway that was given by both sides, perhaps, that was given, progress was made on those until the nuclear deal got brought up again and scuttled the whole thing. But the progress on the other matters might actually be leaked out. Probably, I mean, these are spin doctors, don't forget, they know what they're doing, leaked out so that they, oh yes, but Iran, by the way, even though we didn't think, but they did say this, or they did promise not to lay more mines, or they did say we could come to a deal on the Straits, or whatever the other 10, 15 points were. So I think that some optimism will creep back in, however misguided or guided it may be. And as you can see, and we got long on the NASDAQ, we got long on the S&P at the lows, at the bottom last night on the market open. As soon as I could get long at the deepest point. And I actually spoke about this on the Sunday Night Live video, and the link is up on this channel, one of the videos on this channel, go and check it out. And I gave the levels for the NASDAQ and the S&P, and you can see them on this page. I gave the levels that we bought at as the market dropped down last night. Those are the levels that I gave on the Sunday Night Live stream, saying if we do get a dip down to those levels, that would be a great buying opportunity. You can see how the S&P dropped down to there, gapped down, in fact, gapped down. We gapped down, and I got long at the bottom of, on the gap opening, and the very next move started moving up on both of them. This is the S&P. We're already well into profit on those new trade positions as it stands, unless they reverse now. And my view is that we're going up on assets and not down. I don't see any reason for assets to go down. I think we're going to see interest rate cuts. I think despite inflation ticking up, you're going to have to wrangle that somehow, excuse me, because of weak growth and jobs teetering, GDP growth close to zero. and a stimulus needed for the economy. M2 money supply has been growing quite rapidly and steadily, but interest rates always help a lot, man, in terms of just the psyche of the market, not just in traders and bankers and investors, but also in the minds of consumers, which stimulates spending and growth just mentally, even if it's 0.25%, which makes almost no difference. All right, so that's that. Now, feel free to chat if you want to. Otherwise, I shall dwindle away into rambling about nothing. So let's carry on. We'll come back to the day trading stuff in a minute. Bitcoin, as I said, bouncing up quite nicely. The Bitcoin futures has a CME gap above us now. Two, at least two, probably just two, but two good ones. The one from last night. In fact, we gapped all the way down from the top of that candle at 73,450, and we opened at 71,300. All right, so it's a 300 point pip, or not pip, a $300, 3,000, call it anyway, whatever you want to do, a $3,000 range drop. It's a long way. It's about 5%. So that's the CME gap. That's right above us, and we're busy moving up into that now, although we did go lower. So yeah, let's get into that gap. Let's start eating into it on the CME futures for Bitcoin and get this one moving up. So, and there's that very large one much higher up. Gold and silver, I said in last night's live stream, I think they're a bit floppy, a bit weak. And they are, but they're still holding in there. Gold's holding in pretty well. Silver stuck between the 100 and the 20 period moving averages, as is gold. And copper, the one I most favor, is still going quite strong. And then natural gas, it did flop down a bit at the moment. Remember 271, this key black line, very difficult to get through. And you can see we've approached it twice now and didn't really manage to make much headway, although the second attempt, this one that we're in now, the second candle, first approach, didn't even get through the 20 period moving average, right? That's this green line, and fell back, didn't get through the 20, let alone that black line, the 271 level. It took one candle, two candles, that's 8 more hours, maybe 12 hours later, half a day, we've approached it again, but with a bit more vigor, and we've actually made a higher high, and we're now above that 20 period moving average. So, you know, in the very short term, that's pretty positive for natural gas and looking all right. And oil has come to a dead stop. Now, what I do like about this candle today on oil is it's a star doji. I wouldn't be surprised if we gapped back down, maybe a gap, you know, down below the 20 period moving average. It's tough to get down below there. Every time we've tried, you know, we've now back above it. Every time we tried there, we couldn't get below it. We tried again, we couldn't get below it. We tried here, we got below it, and we're back above it on a gap. But maybe that's going to turn out to be a star doji evening star candle, and the next candle starts off below, tomorrow's candle, below this thing. I'm almost tempted to add some more shorts on speculation on that basis. I think perhaps let's wait until the end of the day, private group members, if you're listening, and you should be. I think let's wait until the end of the day and see if this candle, which has come to a dead halt, can remain like that. And if it is, and if you've got space to add some more shorts, like I have, I'll certainly consider taking another speculative tranche short, simply based on that, and expecting a gap down tomorrow. Could be interesting. It would be something like an abandoned baby or morning star type of candle at the top. Very rare, and it's not likely to gap down below the channel, but it could. And it would be rare and quite extraordinarily confirmative of this now continuing to move down and being firmly rejected there at that channel center line. So really important. Right, let's go back to our scalping charts. And I think Um, is anyone in here? I don't even see any comments. Maybe I've messed this up. Can someone say hi if you're in the chat? Oh, there we go. Okay. It's lonely here on the other side. So all three of you, I mean, two of you, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Hey, Amit. Right. So now let's get back to these charts. Now we're to set a target for Bitcoin. And I think that basically I'm pretty bullish on Bitcoin, but for the purpose of this video and for day trading it, why have I got that set so high? It's meant to be a little lower. I think we'll just aim for, well, okay, first of all, we got the moving average just above us. That's the shortest term moving average, right? That's the 4-hour, 20-period moving average, which is a pretty significant moving average that we've got to get above. So probably the first target should actually be there at the moving average. And then we'll see what happens next. All right, let's leave it there, something like that, confirm that. So that's a new target at the 20-period moving average on the 4-hour chart. This is the 5-minute chart. Remember, it's stuck onto it. And you can see it's also the swing highs on the 5-minute chart. So I think that's a good level to go for. And you can see how the green line, this moving average, the 20-period moving average on the 4-hour chart, you can see how it's been respected, how beautiful it is, and why I use it. Right. Now, I'm sure all the other members will, out of the 130 odd members in our private group, I know everyone's in different parts of the world. I don't expect everyone to be here at all. But I do think that, hello, Manu. Nice to see you. I do think that it's difficult to do these sessions in terms of productivity. Hours spent per session per person won't be great. That's for sure. So we'll have to think of it. But anyway, it's fun for now. And there's also not a lot of point in streaming endlessly, watching a 5-minute chart crawl up 0.002% at a time, like these are currently doing. And the market's about to open. But let's hang around and see what happens at the market open for sure in 5 minutes' time. So stick around. It's going to be interesting, to say the least. I might just put some soothing music on. How about that? Soothing. Drops hot, I fade that spike. Pip by pip, I do what I like. Position size sexy, draw down tame. You gambling, bro. I play the game. Risk to reward, got a 3-to-1 beat. Drawing that fib like a dance floor cheat. MT4 lighting up like Vegas night. I trade that soul, I slap it right. What you doing? Slap that trade. Execute. I just got paid. Trend reversed. Switch that blade. Slap a wakaka. Manu, yeah, I think, yeah, possibly. I think, I don't know if you're talking about on the short-term basis, but I think we're heading up to the top of this wedge, bull flag. Spoken about it often, not this one. I've spoken about this often in the streams. So you know where I'm heading for, up into that blob there at about 77. Depends on how fast or slowly we move. But if we reject here without reaching the top, then it's pretty bearish. And so far we have rejected. And unless we bounce here, we're going to carry on moving down. And the next stop will be the bottom of this wedge, the flag, the double bottom potentially at 60 grand. But that's not going to offer a lot of help. And if we follow this fractal, the same as last time, stick that on there, which is almost identical already, it takes us down to about 48,000. So that's my thinking on Bitcoin. But so far, we're going up. And maybe, 72 could be the short-term target, I suppose. That's halfway back in that, in the drop. But it's a gap, it's a CME gap. It's got to be filled. So it's not going to stop halfway up into the gap. It's going to go either just to the bottom of the gap and not fill it, or it's going to go at least to the top of the gap and then come down, or it'll carry on going up. So, such is such. All right, well, a minute till the market opens. So let's put something more soothing on. Not that one. I think let's just get rid of that. Here we go. Market's about to open. Let's have a look. See what's going on. All right. 30 seconds, guys. Here we go. What's the first move? NASDAQ, bottom left-hand screen, surging upwards. First move, never trustworthy. Bit of a spike there. Not much movement on Bitcoin or gold. Gold just poking up a bit. And natural gas moving down. What's oil doing? Oil's picked up a little bit to 90. Dropped. 96, oil dropping down. Probably the 10-year yield coming down too. Let's go back to these charts. The NASDAQ still pushing higher. We've got longs on the NASDAQ and on the S&P and fresh longs from last night right at the bottom. So those are going fantastically. Bitcoin, I don't know, man. Look at the NASDAQ and S&P have recovered everything already. Bitcoin is not covered. It's recovered nothing. Gold and silver holding strong. Oil dropping ever so slightly, and natural gas just doing nothing. Yeah, man, what's wrong with Bitcoin? Bitcoin's dropping, but so is the NASDAQ. Right, I'm keeping an eye on the chat on the other side here, because I don't want to take my eyes off the chart. So, I'll be right back. all gone suddenly very quiet. It was very quiet for a market open on a Monday after such a tumultuous weekend. But I see that everything's slipping back a little bit now, except for natural gas. Just a tiny bit backwards on NASDAQ here, bit of a spike high. Now, this would be a great entry signal if you were looking to short this, but remember, we're long on the NASDAQ in technical structure with this short moving average above the longer one, and any dips are to be bought. And so we're not on a dip, we're on a rally at the moment, but pulling back quite sharply. We should move our stop loss up here on Bitcoin because it's moved far enough, I think, to protect our position a little bit better now. Should we move it to there? I think if we get below there, it's kaputs already. In fact, if we get below there, we don't. Maybe we should go back to break even on this. I don't want to go all the way back to the bottom of that big white candle. I think if we get below the bottom of that candle, the big white one, let's give it to there, just a fraction below. Makes a difference of about $50, or about $50. I think it's worth risking the extra $50. So I'm going to leave it just under that little section there. So we've taken quite a lot of the risk away, but given it a little bit of space, and it's bouncing back up a bit now, as is the NASDAQ. We can't get long on the NASDAQ up here. The RSI is overbought on the 5-minute chart. This is day trading. You know, on a swing trade, I might get long on the NASDAQ right here, having broken through that top, but not on this system. MSTR is not moving much at all, interestingly. I think I'm just going to get rid of this. It's annoying. All right, let's have a look. Yeah, down a little bit. I mean, a gap down, but it's all because of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's just not recovering as fast as everything else. And gold and silver barely steps back. Crude, you mean support? You mean crude's facing support now? Yeah. So, I'd love this candle to finish off within today's range. So if we go to a 15-minute chart, where the gap is within this range here, if I put a lozenge over there, it would be really cool. It's probably not going to, but it would be fun. So if we closed in that range there, that would be great. Just went sideways across the page for the next few hours and closed in this range. That would leave us with that star doji evening star type setup on the day chart. And would tempt me to actually add a short and try and get a gap down and leave that star candle behind. That would be cool. Let's see. It doesn't matter because we're short already, and if it moves down, that's good too. It would also be kind of fun if we just closed perfectly as a star doji, abandoned up there in the nether regions, stuck between the channel center line and the 20-period moving average. That's where it is. Poor little thing. If it's stuck there tonight, I might take another short because it's trapped and it knows it. It's funny how we personify these markets sometimes. No, it doesn't know it. It's not trapped, and it's just a figment of my imagination. Right, I'm keeping an eye on the messages. So, folks, if you in the private group, if you've got any questions, now's a good chance to ask them, because I think mostly it's just private group members in here. The 5 of you, or 8 or 10. I think there were 16 just now. That was quite good. All right, Bitcoin's moving down. I don't like that. But let's give it a little bit of space. I'm not even sure if I should leave this. I think maybe I'll just leave it below that swing low. And if I do that, it's got to be below those swing lows, doesn't it? That adds another, another $100 of risk. But I'm aiming for about $1,500. Let's leave it where it was, more or less. Well, a little bit lower. All right. Let's back up and have a look at the other stuff here. Oil, still stuck there, not moving. Natural gas, still stuck, not moving. Gold ticking up a bit. So I'm watching all of these on the day charts. You might think, well, how do I know? Because we're not looking at them on the 5-minute charts when I look at these ones, but I can see, Bitcoin ticking down, as I said. But stocks holding really well. In fact, we've almost closed the gap now, and this is the crucial part, right? When we get to the top of this gap, or the top of the gap, we're almost there on both of them. In fact, we filled the gap already on the NASDAQ. NASDAQ's now trying to push back up through the 100-period moving average and that channel top. That's pretty crucial. And the NASDAQ must get through this 100-period moving average right here and this channel top and close above it like we did on Friday. Friday closed above it. Saturday and Sunday don't really count. So can we close above it today as well? So Friday, we closed above it. Can we close above it today? So we have no close beneath it after that first attempt. That would be cool. Like there, we had 2 days closing above it, and then we failed. So here, can we get 2 days closing above it, and then see what we can do with that? Anyway, we got long right at the very bottom. We've closed the gap now on NASDAQ, so we're now at the crucial point, difficult part. Once we've closed the gap, that pressure's off. What happens next? But we've still got a little way to go on the S&P to close the gap. Or have we closed it? I think we've just closed it. Yes, the S&P just closed the gap to the penny. Maybe not. No, it didn't. We're a penny away from closing the gap. So that penny counts. So maybe that one's still got to get up a little higher, close that gap. And until it's done so, the NASDAQ should keep steady or rising. So those are looking pretty good. We just want Bitcoin to bounce, and it's being pathetic. Gold and silver not being pathetic, but not being strong. Copper looking better. But there's still hope for gold and silver. Uranium and lithium pretty good, just moving sideways. Uranium a little bit, nice U-shape bottom there. Lovely on uranium. We've got lots of longs on uranium and lithium. Lithium's sterling, brilliant. Moving up day by day, leaving gaps behind, may have to be retested at some point. Brent crude, still in that range, but at the lower part of it. Natural gas holding quite strong. I would say gathering strength for a fresh attempt at 271. Looks like it's coiling. If I went into the 5-minute chart, we can do that actually. There's the 5-minute chart. Yes, it is coiling. Hopefully not with a bear flag, and maybe it's coiling to try and have another go upwards. Look at Bitcoin go. There we go. That's more like it. There we go. Okay. Luckily, we moved our stop loss back down to that level below that next swing low. It would have just taken us out, perhaps. Perhaps not, but it would have been damn close nevertheless. Look at Bitcoin bounce. It's fantastic. Let's go back to this chart. You'll barely see it on the day chart, actually. Look at that. Barely see it on the day chart. But when you look at the short-term 5-minute chart, well, it's something, isn't it? Impressive, at least. Slightly impressive. Gold is now coming back down. And we're long on this one, too. You can see we've only got $11 profit on this one. My goal here really is, and I'm going to try and do this, is to make, a few $100s a day, about $1,000 a day. doing a bit of day trading. So if you'd like to join me in this journey, and although just today, this is a demo account which is provided by TradingView, but I will be using real money from whenever we do this again, probably tomorrow, if it's tomorrow. I'm not sure how many times we will do this, or how often, or who, and how long they'll be, and on what times, in setting up this whole new channel and trying a few things in the process while we can, which I think is fun. So I see some comments flying up there. What were they? I am in. Hi there. Hello, everyone. Now, I think I know everyone here. These are just a few folks. Umkar, hello, mate. A few folks from the private group. Hi. Chris Newell. It reads strange. I thought it was Chris Newell, or anyway, Chris, nice to see you, mate. And Manu, you didn't tell me if you're from Australia. I mean, New Zealand. Or from one of the Pacific Islands. Hi, Manesh. Nice to see you. Thanks to everyone for being here. Hello, Class Tech. CS Tech. Oh, yeah. I need spectacles. I really do. Talking about that, let's go back to the charts. All right. So Bitcoin bounced and then flopped back. Gold. Man. Let's see. Is oil picking up? Yes, that's the problem. Oil bouncing back up a little bit again, and everything just getting droopy at the same time, except for gold. Gold's doing really well. I'm surprised. And compared to silver and it's doing pretty well, almost as well as copper. Platinum and silver not doing as well. All right, now these stocks have got to push up now. We've closed the gap. Now they've got to prove what they're worth and get through the top of this range now and proceed onwards and upwards. And at the same time, bring cryptos along with it. So Bitcoin, everyone says Bitcoin never leaves gaps behind for too long. Well, that's not all that true. Here's one, for example, above us that we left behind with a massive collapse. You'll all remember that. From 85 down to $60,000 in a matter of a couple of days, leaving that massive gap. But not only that, but the empty zone behind. The empty zone meaning there was almost no volume anywhere in that region. It just slipped through it without the auction taking place. No auctioning, no bidding, no offering, nothing happening, leaving an empty zone where everyone wants to know what the price, to rediscover the price. What will happen if we trade in this region for a period of time? That's what we all want to know. In the empty zone, what's the empty zone all about? What's going to happen when we get in there? Well, it's an empty zone, so it's going to get into there quite easily, and I think we should get into at least the gap, the bottom or the top of it, and then find out, see what happens. That's when the auction begins. The real bidding starts in the price zone. That bidding has not yet occurred. The price and time zone. This time of the year in 2026 is different to when we were last at this price in 2024 or 2025. So it's not just price, it's time. The world's a different place, very different. And so the bidding that takes place in this region the auction needs to happen. So we are going to go in there, and I hope now, and see what happens at that CME gap. And if we smash through there and right through the empty zone and manage to hold in the next power zone, green zone, what did I call it? Nothing. If we manage to, hold in, just climb the ledge basically and get up onto the ledge, which is at precisely 85,000. and get onto the 85, top of the 85 grand ledge, has got a good chance of being one of those sorts of bottoms, you know, a square bottom, like a big head and shoulders. In fact, we might rush up all the way to the 200 period moving average on this next attempt, and then come back down to form the right-hand shoulder in a massive inverse head and shoulders. And that back down could take us all the way back down to the top of the CME gap over here, where that spike low is. So you can imagine a massive and impressive head and shoulders, a beauty, a real beauty. Yeah, should I draw it in? I suppose I should. So let's do it. Something like this, with a very square-shaped head. I wish there was a tool to draw the square, you know, the blockhead. You know that shape, the blockhead head. Anyway, we can't, so we put it in the middle and then go all the way back up to there. We could go there, I'm saying on first attempt, on this next rally, we could get all the way up to 97 and then fail back down to that left-hand shoulder. So this would be massive, right? Massive, absolutely massive. And that could actually be the way this plays out in what should be a bear market year. And that would use up enough time for us to, you know, to complete this year in the type of cycle that we're meant to be getting, but not in the same way as we've had previous bear markets, just in a more supported bear market with a range, essentially a massive range between 90, call it 100, and 60, but with most of the action taking place in the top part of the range over here, once we get back in there, back into the green zone. So that's kind of my plan. And it's a pity we can't draw the square blockhead bottom for Bitcoin. Anyway, that plan only stands until it doesn't stand. And, you know, when that shape is no longer plausible, then or something like it. Doesn't even have, it doesn't have to be exactly the same. But if it's no longer plausible, then we come up with a different idea. There it goes on the 5 minute. Look at that. So this has got massive profits now. We've got 500. My goal in this, and if I was trading this in my private money, this is just a demo account, I'd probably have 2 Bitcoin on here. That's the sort of day trade size I would use, which is like 2. It sounds ridiculous for a lot of people, but I'm used to it because I trade quite big contracts anyway. But even in the past, I was trading contracts on Forex trades, Euro, US dollar, pound, US dollar, some of the yen crosses, all $100,000 contract size, minimum size. That's basically 1 Bitcoin. So, you know, we'd be trading several contracts at a time on quite small trading accounts, pip by pip. You know, when a 10 pip move against you, 10 pips was a 2 or 3% drawdown on your account. So we had to be incredibly scalpy as early traders in this retail Forex trading market, which started in the 90s. And I was one of the first traders in it. In fact, I had one of the largest retail accounts and managed accounts with one of the largest brokers in the world. At one point, I was the largest. This is going back a long, long time. Well back into the 90s and 2000s. So I don't know how we got onto that. Yeah, so I would normally be doing 2 Bitcoin here. This is only 1, but it's a demo account. I not going to faff around with sizing. But so it's only $500. But if we'd got to $1,000 by now, which we did at about 71.5, I would have probably taken profit there, because that would be my sort of what I've got mentally in mind. $1,000 a day roughly could be, you know, 500 up to 1,500 or 2,000, but around about 1,000. This is about 500 and something bucks right now, but I think this is an impulse move, as you can see from that candle. If you wanted to add back in here, you can see where you would want to do that, and probably at the top of this little hedgehoggy range on a 50% retracement. And if you weren't long on this, which you might not be, and you wanted to get long, just simply draw a fib very quickly, incredibly quickly, from the bottom of that big move, that sudden move, impulse move, bottom to the top. Find the 50% retracement level and draw a line there. That's over here, and the price is at 71,270, and that would be the great place to get in on the retrace if you wanted to get long and you missed the breakout move. So wait for a 50% retracement. Don't get in at the 38, which we've already retraced to, as you can see. Very often on a massive move like that, we'll get a 50% pullback, and it won't be contained by the 38.2% pullback. We could even get a 618 pullback or a 786, but don't go with the first 38.2% fib level. Although it may bounce from here, and that means that you'll miss out on the trade. If it bounces right as it has done, it looks like it's trying to do at the 38.2, in which case you could take a smaller size here, maybe a third or a half of your desired position, buy it there, and then add the next half on a little bit lower down at the 50% retracement and that hedgehoggy swing high, which is obviously a key level because it was tested there, and it's the neckline of a head and shoulders type pattern. It's not a head and shoulders, but you know what I mean. So that's the sort of thing. That's a very good area to be buying, but don't go for the 38. You can see we're now busting down through the 38. And I wouldn't be surprised if we turn around here at 71,200, is that 272, or at 71,180-ish, 60 to 80, something like that. So just a little bit of wisdom if you're buying pullbacks. Don't go with the first pullback, 38.2%. Let's have a look at the other stuff. All right, dollar's dropping down nicely. I wanted to get further short on the dollar. Remember, we don't have a trade on this now. We took profit down here on our shorts. I wanted to get long on a retrace back to fill that gap from the weekend, but we haven't done it. It's not the weekend, is it? That was a Tuesday gap, actually. A Tuesday night gap, not a weekend. There were a tiny little gap this weekend. But maybe we won't get the retrace and we won't be able to get into that one. But we are long extra and added extra longs on the NASDAQ and the S&P at the bottoms last night when we gapped down as soon as we could. We got long on those on the dip down. Those are really good, in good profit already. And Bitcoin's being the laggard, of course. Gold and silver not doing a lot today. Noise gold, noise copper. Now here goes natural gas. Now, yeah, rejected by the same level. Once again, 2.71. Just checking the members group. No one's in there. No one's talking. Now, oil's moving down sharply as well. This is the problem, right? Oil and natural gas are tethered together at the moment, whereas they normally trade quite often in opposite directions. Now, oil's moving down sharply. I have a bigger interest in the oil moving down. I don't mind natural gas being dragged down with it. I'd rather oil did not. In other words, if they both moved up, that would be worse than them both moving down together, because I got more invested on oil. So that's okay. Oil's moving down quite quickly, actually. So is natural gas. Remember, we're going to have to hedge natural gas under 1.6 at under 2.6 at 2.59. All right, there goes Bitcoin. And we did, in fact, bounce off the 38.2% and did not get to the 50% retracement. So I was about to say that sometimes you may miss out on the trade. I was saying, actually, and therefore you might take some at the 38.2 and then hope to get some more at the 50% and not add it all on at the first retrace. But we did bounce off that. We went a little low, but not much. All right, I think that's all setting up quite nicely, except for natural gas, and gold is slumping down a bit. So we're going to have to pay attention to both of these when we're trading for the rest of the day. But I think I'm going to love and leave you now for the rest of this stream now that the market's opened. We've been on for almost another hour. So you can hear my voice is getting, I'm not used to doing this sort of length of streaming. So it's quite arduous. But it's all looking really good for our positions. Even Bitcoin is looking a little hopeful, I have to say. And if we go back to this chart, it's holding up quite well here. Now we got $680 in profit here, and I'll probably just take this off actually, seeing as this is the first attempt. If you are long, and I'm long on, we're long on Bitcoin in our swing trades anyway. But as a day trade, I think this is good enough. So I'll use this as the first example. First trade. And it would be 1400 if I traded with 2 Bitcoin, which would be my normal sort of day trading approach. As I'm going to finish the stream, I think I'll finish it with a profit. So let's get rid of that position, close it for about $700. And while I'm here, I'll just close the gold. This has got nothing to do with our swing trade positions, folks. If you're thinking that, it's not this. This is something completely different. This is day trading. All of our swing trading positions remain as they are. I've just taken our day trading positions off, nothing else. Just wanted to illustrate to you how the system works, what my goal is in terms of looking at the four major instruments on these different markets, uncorrelated markets. Not too sure about day trading natural gas, to be honest. It's not something I've really been very interested in doing, not really done much of it in the past, and perhaps not as successfully as swing trading. I don't recall any great triumphs in day trading natural gas. So, perhaps we'll look at oil, or perhaps we'll do silver or something else. But I'd like to find maybe just the dollar, could be just the dollar. And maybe we'll trade the euro or against the dollar, or just the dollar index. Something I'll think about. But it's a difficult one, trading natural gas, as you can see. And it doesn't always trade as technically as one would like. But when it comes to Bitcoin, gold, and NASDAQ, easy peasy. And we did I wouldn't say, I'm not saying easy peasy. I'm saying easier than trading some of the wild and less volumatic or more thinly traded markets with, prone to less technical types of fluctuations, triggers that make these markets move, natural gas, which will never be apparent on the chart or be preparable for on the chart. Whereas, it doesn't happen in massive markets like these other ones, and less manipulated and controlled and less flighty markets. All right. Well, that's it. Let me just read some of the comments and say goodbye to you. And thanks for being here. Yeah, I checked out nat gas there. Let me just read some of the other comments. Yeah, thank you, Manesh. I appreciate it, mate. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you following. Thank you so much. Oracle. Yeah, Oracle's great. When there is structure breakdown, for instance, from higher highs to lower lows, do we consider the closing of the candle, or if there is a wick, do we consider as a breakdown? Yeah, I mean, everyone's got a different opinion on that, but in my case, if we wicked lower than the previous candle's low, that's a lower low. It doesn't matter, a wick can be deceiving. The price can stay down at the bottom of a wick for most of the day, right? And then move back up again and look like it was just a brief visit. So we could have, in fact, I'll give you a good example. I just gave you a fantastic example. Have a look at this. And this is exactly what I mean. Where is it now? I've got to find it. Right, it's over here. Let's get rid of this weird head and shoulders. So this is exactly what I mean. If you looked at this, this is over several months, right? But if this was a 5-minute chart, and yeah, let's say it's a 5-minute chart, and then we took that period on the 5-minute chart and converted it to a day chart candle, right? If that was one day chart candle, and we had already moved back up into the green range by the end of the day, we haven't done so yet. I'm using this chart shape. Ignore the chart. The chart shape. Imagine if this was a 5-minute chart, we'd come all the way down, spent most of the day at the bottom, and then right at the end of the day, move back up to the green zone, and then the day candle closed. What it would look like was we have a small body at the top of the day, and the long wick down, reflecting that zone at the bottom that we were down there for so long, for ages, most of the day. And then right at the end of the day, we popped back up into where we were. And that illustrates that, yes, it held down there for a long time. It managed to escape back up again, but it traded there for most of the day. And therefore, it's a very significant point on the chart. It should not be ignored. The fact that it wicked out of there adds a bit of weight to the other side of the argument that, yes, we stayed down there for so long at the bottom of that range through the day, and then escaped it and got back up and closed the day much higher up. That's an argument for the bulls, saying yes, they closed the day. At the end of the day was won by the bulls, or at least recovered by the bulls. But it does mean that price traded down there for an awfully long time. In this example, sometimes it's a quick spike, just in and out, like we saw somewhere also on these charts. Where was it? Can't remember. Something like that, for example. If that was a candle, maybe you can't see that. Anyway, so you know what I mean, I think. Now, we were talking about natural gas. Yeah, it's bouncing up a little bit now, so don't panic. No need to panic. 2.6 is our level. We're well above there still. And we'll hedge it, but I'm more worried about Bitcoin and gold moving down. I don't really want these to move down. They are bullish on the charts, so we're not looking to sell these. We're looking to buy on dips. So let's see what these bring up. All right, folks, have a wonderful day, and I'll let the private group members know in advance when we have our next live session like this. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure to subscribe and give us a like, a thumbs up, and a comment. Any comments in the comments box below the video also help people get to know, and the algorithms start to generate interest in the channel. And maybe, just maybe, I think it's a very long shot, we'll grow this channel into something meaningful or significant of any sort. Even 1,000 subscribers might take a year. I don't know. I have no clue. I'm not a YouTuber or an expert at doing this sort of thing. So we'll see how it goes. Either it'll just fizzle out and I'll go into my hidey hole with the private group members, or it'll get some legs. I don't know. It doesn't really matter either way. Although it would be a pity. It would be a pity. What's more of a pity is having lost 2,000 videos and 3.7 million views on my previous channel. So that's a pity. Anyway, all right, folks. Au revoir. Have a good evening. And I'll see the private group guys and girls in the private group. See you later. Hang on. Is there anything else? I think did I miss out some stuff here? Yeah, Johannes, I think maybe it will fill the gap. I'm hoping it will. Yeah, all right, pal. Pleasure, Manu. Pleasure, Omkar. See you guys later. It's tiring work, this streaming. I'm exhausted, but I hope you found it useful. Ciao. Hi there, I'm James. I'm the founder of Arcus FX. I'd like to personally invite you to join our 24/7 trading group. This is built for traders who want an edge. Inside, you'll get access to live calls on Forex, commodities, crypto, energies, and metals, along with exclusive daily analysis designed to unlock your trading potential. And this in both traditional and now in digital markets. I'm talking Bitcoin, crypto, altcoins, and tethered currencies. You'll gain early access to insider news, real-time updates, real-time support, and premium educational content. If you want to sharpen your skills and boost your success rate, then join me and Paul in this community. This is a fast-growing community of traders who are now writing their own success stories. So don't wait. Join up now. Your edge starts right here.